Welcome to the channel. So today's episode, I want to talk about something that is very interesting to me. I host this men's group, and one of the guys in my group named Lucas, he brought this to my attention, and I think it's a very important subject. And he was saying there's a difference between being a thermostat and being a thermometer, whether it's in a friend group, in a romantic relationship. Each one of us has a choice whenever we walk into a room. What are we going to be? Are we going to be the guy who just matches the energy of the room and just kind of says things to please the group and to please whoever's in charge? Or are you going to be a leader and set the tone? And if you think about a thermometer, it changes. The number on it changes depending on whatever temperature of room you're in. And what's interesting is most people, they just are followers. They walk into a room and they just match the energy. Oh, this group believes this, I'll believe it. Oh, this person says this, yeah, I'll say the same thing. And a lot of people don't have that independent mindset. And the people who are able to be thermostats where, they see the room temperature and they're like, I'm going to turn the dial to 50. I see the temperature 70, but I want it to be 50. And it takes kind of balls and confidence to, be that different temperature, and people aren't always going to like you. But things that I've learned from people that are 40, 50, some of the best things that they have said to me is you can't always worry what people think. Like if you live your life worrying about what other people think, you're never going to be internally at peace or internally happy, because you're kind of relying on other people's approval, and happiness is an internal game. And if you have a set of standards that you want to live by, and, you walk into a room and, if this set of standards that you live by, is going to disappoint some people or make some people not like you, it's very worth just living by those standards versus, letting those standards take a back burner seat and kind of pretending to be someone else, because all of a sudden you're no longer an integrated person and you're no longer living with integrity, and you no longer will respect yourself. Your woman's going to notice that and she's not going to respect you. And so all this is very important to talk about, because I think most men, they live their lives, trying to get approval from women, trying to get approval from other men, just by trying to say nice things or get approval. But in reality, you shouldn't really be searching for that kind of approval, because it's like if you deep down approve of your way of life and approve of your standard, who cares if other people approve it or not? And, I'm saying this and it's kind of difficult because I'm the kind of guy who used to really worry about what other people thought of me. I still struggle depending on the person. There's a few people in my life who I really have to really push hard against and set my standards up really high, because I know how dominating they can be. And each one of us probably has people in our lives that try to dictate us and try to change our opinions. And, it's really up to us if we want to set that standard and hold on to it. And so I've just found that, sometimes saying no is one of the most freeing and powerful things ever. And I gotta just be honest, my girlfriend's helped me a lot on this, because she, from what I can tell, is a person who is really good at having a set of standards and a set of core values. And if the decision that she's going to make doesn't align with the core values, she quickly says no, and she doesn't feel bad. Nope. And the answer is no. And, she can move on without feeling bad or feeling like she's betraying herself. And I see the way she does that, and I'm just like, wow, that is a really good leadership quality. And my goal is to be the same way. Like if a person, invites me to go out to a bar and I'm just like, no, I don't really go to bars. Maybe once in a while I would go, but it's something that I try to say no to just because I know myself. I know that I'm going to get distracted. I know that it's just not the right place for me. I'm a person who likes to have deep conversations. I'm a person who, I don't like to objectify other women. And if I go into a bar where people are dressed very inappropriately, it's just like, I don't really want to be in this environment. It's too loud. You can't talk. I'm going to attract unwanted attention. And so, I say no to those kinds of things. If a person in a locker room's talking about you know, locker room talk, talking about like sexualizing women, I normally just put my earbuds in and just don't entertain the conversation just because it's just not really who I am anymore. I used to be a guy who watched a lot of. Now I'm a guy who says no to that lifestyle because it makes me a worse leader. It makes me feel like internally, like I don't respect myself. And so this is kind of, the mission for all you guys. Like, what are your core values? If I could think of my 3 core values, they are integrity, humility, and consistency. Like, I try to live my life saying what's on my mind and not feeling bad about it. Being integrous can be difficult because sometimes you might be thinking something, but then you want to say something else to please that other person. But if you're living with integrity as one of your core values, you're starting to realize like truth is more important than getting approval. Being honest and true to who you are and what you want to be is way more important than if someone really loves your opinion or not. And the second one is like humility. One of my core values is like I like to ask questions and assume that the world is complicated. If I'm hanging around with a group of people and they feel like they have it all figured out and they're simplifying the world and they're simplifying life into just simple sentences, that's breaking my core values, because I like surrounding myself with people who are willing to ask deeper questions, willing to admit that the world is complicated, willing to admit that they don't know much. That's just one of my core values, and I think that humility is a really important trait. If you want to become one of the wisest people in a room, humility is something that you should strive for. Like Proverbs 9:10 says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." If you're aware that you're very limited and that things are much bigger and better and more complicated than you're going to realize you're not going to be as confident and you're not going to be as, arrogant about your opinions. And so the third one is consistency. Like, I make it a rule. Every single day I post on social media like 3 to 4 to 5 times. And every single day I hit the gym, and if there's a day that I don't, I make sure that the next day that I go, I hit it twice as hard. I also make sure to pretty much avoid any type of sugary foods. For me, it's not that hard. I have a savory tooth, so it makes it easy. But whenever I've eaten sugary foods, I just feel like trash, and then I'm more tempted to watch porn or more tempted to just be super lazy. And from what I've found, saying no to those things and being very consistent with my diet, being very consistent with the sauna usage, all those things help me become a man that I can respect. When I walk into a room, I can just walk with confidence, and I don't have to like prop myself up. I can just be me, and people respect that. And from what I've found, living by those 3 core values has been really powerful for me and has helped me become just a person that, the men in my group respect, my woman respects. Even like my parents, they respect me for who I'm becoming. And it's kind of weird when, your parents might have a certain worldview or a certain mentality on something, and then it's like, well, I got to think differently, and I'm going to do this instead. And it can be very weird, especially if you're kind of close with your parents, but this is the path you got to take as a man. Like, you've got to cleave off other people's opinions, and you got to cleave off those worldviews that may have just been inherently built in. You have to be that guy who's willing to determine, like, why do you believe what you believe? Like, why are you setting that standard? Like, what makes you think that? Like, if you're able to answer those questions, or at least ask them and think about them regularly, you're going to be a person who has long answers to these deep questions, and you're going to demand respect from pretty much anyone who asks you anything about your life. And so that's kind of the mission I'm on. Every day I'm improving because of that consistency thing. It's like I don't let a single day pass where I don't work at my business, work at my fitness, or even work at like my philosophical or religious journey. I'm always asking these questions. And so I just want to inspire each one of you guys. Be that thermostat. Set the standard. What are your core values? Take 20 minutes right after this video. Start writing down, what are your core values? Go to GPT, explain your life and your opinions, and have him figure out your 3 core values. Whatever. Go out and figure those out. And then if you're ever faced with a decision and you're like, dang, this decision is going to make me break one of my core values, it's an easy no. It's a no where you don't have to feel bad. It's a no out of like, I'm excited to say no because saying no feels so good, you know? The difference between saying yes to and saying no to huge, and it's like there's freedom in that no. So I hope you guys can really look inward and figure out like what kind of thermostat do you want to be, and where are you going to be leading your relationship, your friend group, yourself. All right, y'all, see you in the next video.